All right, so let's start today's webinar. Hello and welcome to another episode from the PlatformUptake.eu project webinar series. My name is Alexander Nikolov and I'm working for Sony GmbH, a company based in Vienna, and we are coordinating the PlatformUptake.eu project. The idea of these virtual events is on one side to share relevant insights we gathered within the project, but beyond that, we would like to get in touch with further stakeholders from the ecosystem of open platforms in the active and healthy aging and assisted living domains, get additional information on the existing capability gaps and innovation needs in the field, and feed this information back into the project. This particular webinar has the goal to introduce the PlatformUptake.eu monitoring and self-evaluation tools and their benefits to their potential users, and inform how they can be used and where they are to be accessed. The webinar will begin with a short introduction to PlatformUptake.eu project and its current achievements and planned activities for the rest of its duration, and continue with a presentation on the registration process and navigation to the tools on our Open Information Hub. Afterwards, our colleague Statis from the Institute of Communication and Computer Systems in Greece will present both tools in details so you can get acquainted with them. Please feel free to ask us questions anytime in the chat option in the right below corner, or interrupt us during the presentations. We will be more than happy to answer them either during the events or after its completion. So let's move forward. As you know, aging presents one of the greatest socioeconomic challenges of our century. In this context, the EU Commission has invested already a vast amount of financial resources for the development of ICT solutions, including open platforms. Unfortunately, these platforms have either stopped existing or remain unknown to the wider public. Against this background, PlatformUptake.eu project seeks to understand the whole ecosystem of open platforms in the field and contribute to the development of an open market for digital solutions for active and healthy aging. PlatformUptake.eu project is a coordination and support action funded by the European Commission Horizon program. So what had PlatformUptake.eu project so far achieved? We have created an open information hub, which I will demonstrate you in a few minutes, which features information on existing open platforms and digital solutions for active and healthy aging. The hub represents also the main reference point for all projects stakeholders when it comes to knowledge collection and knowledge exchange on pressing issues and challenges in the field. Based on the defined KPIs for the monitoring and assessment of interoperability, synergies, and cost-benefit analysis of open platforms in the field, we have created tools that you'll see in a bit that allow for both platform providers and developers of technology for all the people to evaluate and compare the current state of the art and establish cooperation with their counterparts. Further, PlatformUptake.eu project designed and developed a massive online open course that is aimed towards the healthcare and care providers as well as policymakers, and seeks to help them build understanding on the use of open platforms in the field and their benefits, and support them in the choice of platform that can be integrated into their organizations. To bring the importance of open platforms, but also highlight their benefits for the developers of technologies in the field, our project conducts ongoing interviews with experts in the active and healthy aging domain, as well as matchmaking activities to allow for interested organizations benefit from the knowledge exchange and exploit further collaborations. Part of our activities focus on the identification of gaps and challenges for the uptake of open platforms in the field. A challenge, for example, which we identify, and as you may know, are the various regulations and standards, data regulation, data exchange to which open platforms, and also, of course, digital technology as a whole needs to adhere to. Another gap identified by the project, which also can be tackled by the use of the tools to be demonstrated in this webinar, is the difficulty of defining a successful business model or partially not sufficiently address communication strategy towards future and potential end users. To bring the importance of open platforms, but also highlight the benefits for the developers of technologies in the field, our project organizes matchmaking events. Within these activities, PlatformUptake.eu project seeks to promote best practices and reach stakeholders not involved within the fields of open platforms. Within these activities, PlatformUptake seeks to promote best practices and reach stakeholders which are interested to collaborate with the providers of open platforms. So let's move to the bit more interesting part of our today's webinar, which reflects the creation and use of our tools. So both tools can be found under the Tools menu on the navigation bar of our Hub's homepage. As already mentioned, the PlatformUptake.eu Open Information Hub is an online resource that provides an overview on existing platforms mapped, monitored, and analyzed by the project, including the outcomes of analysis and knowledge exchange, support toolkits, best practices, and guidelines. The homepage includes links to the main categories as well, elements such as cards, and also links to external sources. Interested visitors can register or log in before accessing the tools for platform providers and technology developers by clicking on the login menu in the navigation bar of the Open Information Hub. The visitor who is already registered is requested to provide his or her email address and password. If not registered yet, by clicking on the register button, the visitor can go through the registration process, which is described on the next slide. User registration in the PlatformUptake.eu Open Information Hub is mandatory before the visitor is being able to access the tools, with the exception of the default user who can access the first tool for open platform providers without being registered. As a default user, the visitor can only access basic statistics and information, but not edit them. Tools can maintain the user role associations and other personal preferences and configuration. Any user details or other kind of information are maintained in the PlatformUptake.eu Open Information Hub user base, and are not accessible by the tool itself or handled autonomously or not shared with third parties. In order to access the tool for platform providers on the Open Information Hub, users need to select the first tab, Monitoring and Evaluation Tool for Platform Providers, and view the main information of the tool for platform providers. By clicking the Visit the Tool button, the tool itself will be loaded and displayed. We have also made online available a really detailed tutorial on the tool, which is accessible via the button Check out the tutorial. Similar approach is applied in the case of the tool for technology developers. To get to the tool, the visitor needs to select again the tab with the title Self-Evaluation Tool for Technology Developers and view the main information on the tool for this particular stakeholder group. By clicking the Visit the Tool button itself, the tool will be loaded and displayed. Further information on the tool and its usability can be found in the link tutorial. All right, so let's move to the next part of our today's webinar, in which our colleague Statis will present both tools in a more detailed and interactive way. Statis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexander. Thanks to everyone for being here today. My name is Statis Karanastasis. I'm a senior researcher and also developer at the Institute of Communication and Computer Systems, the National and Technical University of Athens in Greece. And I'm going to present you the monitoring and self-evaluation tools that we have developed in the PlatformUptake.eu project. These are a pair of interoperating easy to use and self-explanatory tools, and they're mainly addressed to the providers of open platforms and also to the technology developers who are using these platforms in order to create solutions. Next slide, please. Okay, so I would first like to give you an introduction to the main concepts, metrics, and data collection instruments that we are using in the tools, and they have been defined in the monitoring and evaluation methodology of PlatformUptake. We have the key performance indicators. These are measured every 3 months, and they can be either a number, in this case they're quantitative, or they can be qualitative indicators. Each indicator belongs to 1 out of 6 categories. I will show you more about this later on in the tools. Also, its KPI has to belong in 1 out of 3 available dimensions. The 3 dimensions are the technical, the business, and the contextual, and basically they indicate the area that the KPI is relevant to. There are also 4 available clusters. These clusters are called also user clusters, and they are the primary end users, the secondary end users, the solution developers and providers, and the open platform providers, and finally the authorities and facilitators. So the KPI also has to belong to 1 of these user clusters, and basically this indicates the stakeholder group that the KPI is of interest for. Every 3 months we collect the values of the KPIs, and then since these values of different KPIs can be very different, we use a normalization process in order to normalize all of these values to a range of let's say output values that are the integers from 0 to 4. So we only have 5 possible normalized values. The way that each KPI can be normalized can be specified differently for each of the KPIs. And finally, we have the weight of each KPI, which is a number in the range from 0 to 10, and it actually gives us the importance of this KPI in the methodology. And this is also used in order to calculate scores. All right, so I will tell you now how we calculate the scores of a particular platform for a particular measurement period. Don't be intimidated by this formula because the concept is quite easy to understand. So what we do is we take the values, the normalized values of the KPIs that are available for this platform in this period. So we only use the available values, and we discard any KPIs for which we have not measured values for this period. So we take the normalized values and we multiply them with the weight of the KPI. Then we sum all of these products and we divide them with the sum of the KPI weights that were used. This way we normalize the KPI weights, and finally we multiply the figure with the number 25, and this is done in order to normalize the score in the range of 0 to 100. So all the scores that you will see will be in that range. The worst score that a platform can have is 0, and the best one is 100. And based on the scores, we can also calculate the score trend. And in order to do this, we need to have the score of a current period and the score of the previous period. And the trend basically is the difference of these scores. So if the trend is positive, then this means that the platform is performing better in this period than before. if it is the same as before, so if the trend is 0, then the performance of the platform is the same, and if it is negative, then the platform is performing worse than before. Next, please. Okay, so we also have a number of statistics metrics. These are measured every 6 months, and they can be a percentage or a plain number. There are also the contextual questions. Basically, these have a set of predefined answers, and we use them in order to specify the particular characteristics of each platform. And finally, we have a set of developer questions. These questions are used to be addressed to technology developers who are using the platform, and it is a means for getting their feedback regarding the platform assessment, the developer characteristics, but also the characteristics of the solution that they are creating. And the developer questions can be either a rating question. In this case, the developer is asked to rate a particular aspect in the range from 1 to 5. So 1 is the worst rating, and 5 is the best one. It can be a text. So in this case, the developer can type a free text as an answer to this question. It can be a combination of rating and text. And finally, the developer questions can also have a set of predefined answers. And optionally, there can be the possibility to also provide a free text answer, another answer. Next, please. Right, so the first tool is called a tool for platform providers. Next slide. So as the title also suggests, the main user of this tool are platform providers. Basically, this tool enables the platform providers to see a lot of information about their platforms, such as the KPIs and the various statistic metrics in a visualized manner. It also helps them monitor their communities and how they are using the platform, so they can actually evaluate the technology uptake by different user groups. It also helps them identify the competitive advantages of their platforms, but also their limitations, and they can also compare this to the other platforms and see how they are doing in all these fields. This actually helps them assess the uptake and the evolution of the platforms over time, because as you will see, they are able to see all this data and how they develop in the course of time. So they can be supported by the tool, when they want to decide which areas to prioritize to focus their improvements upon. And they can also use the tool in order to track their overall development and impact, including their progress and their obstacles. And finally, the platform providers will be able to perform this evaluation process even after the PlatformUptake.eu project has finished by using the tools. Next slide, please. Right, so as I said, the main user of the tool is the platform provider, but we have also foreseen a regular user. This user can be registered or not registered in the information hub, and what this user can do is visualize the wealth of available information in the tool, and this can be done in a per platform or in a comparative manner. And we also have an administrator whose role is to perform various maintenance operations in the tool and also manage the underlying data. Right, so at this point, I'm going to share my browser and give you a live demo of the first tool. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. Right, so here you can see the main landing page of the information hub for the tools. As you can see, currently I'm not logged in the tools, so I'm an unregistered user, and here I click on this button to load the tool for platform providers. Okay, it seems to be taking a bit longer than usual, and I think this is because we are in the call right now, because otherwise, and before the call, it is loading instantaneously. But anyway, this is just a remark. So this is the main, the home page of the tool for platform providers. On the right side here, you can see that we are using the tool as an unregistered user, and on top of that, you can also see that we can always find here a link to the tutorial of this tool. If we click this, the tutorial will load, and this way we are able to access the tutorial anytime that we need, to find something about the tool. As you see, there are 4 main cards in the homepage of the tool, and there is 1 card for each of the main functionalities. The current user is able to access only the first 2 cards, which are shown in color. But the 2 latter cards are not accessible because of the access rights of the unregistered users. So if we try to click on one of these non-accessible cards, we will get a message that authentication is required. So we need to log in or register to the tool beforehand. The first functionality of the tool is called platform monitoring. So I will click on this first card, and you will see that we are, as a first step now, we are asked to select a platform. We can see a list of platforms that are currently available in the tool. Of course, this list is constantly populated by our consortium, and you can also note that we have created here 3 platforms, 3 demo platforms, which are used for demonstration purposes and also for testing of the tools. So I will select the platform, the demo platform number 1. Okay, and now the main screen of platform monitoring has loaded. In the middle of the screen, you can see the logo of the selected platform. On the left, there is a button to go back to the platform selection. So if I click this, I can go back. I can select the same platform again. And on the right side, we can see the global score of the platform for the latest measurement period. Also the trend of the platform, which is this arrow. The global score is 63 out of 100. And in order to calculate the global score, we use all of the KPIs that are available for this platform. The trend is this green arrow, which is pointing upwards. This means that the global score for this period is better than before. So the platform is performing better in the global score. And we can also see the ranking of the platform. So this platform ranks in number 4 out of 18 total platforms that we have in the tool. Right below this, we can see that there are 3 tabs. There is one tab called the Dimensions View, one called the Users View, and one called the Statistics. As you will notice, as I move my mouse over these areas of the screen, some information messages are displayed. And this actually happens wherever you can see this information icon in a circle. So this is a means, of having an interactive usage guide directly implemented in the tool, and this can help you when using the tool. Right, so as I already said, there are 3 dimensions. So we have 3 subtabs, one for each of these dimensions. And right now, the technical subtab is loaded. So inside this tab, we can see the score of this platform for the technical dimension. In this case, this is 66 out of 100. And this score refers to the latest measurement period that is available. On the right side here, we can select a different measurement period if we wish. So we can select a previous period, and immediately the data is reloaded, and the score is calculated again based on the data available for that other period. But by default, the latest period is shown. Now, if we click on the See Evolution button, we are able to see how the score of this dimension evolved over time in the various measurement periods. So you can see here that this platform started like 5 periods ago with a score of 17, and this gradually improved, and it is 66 right now. Okay, below that, you can see a visualization of the KPIs of the technical dimension. And for each KPI, there is a circle. In the middle of the circle, you can see the ID of the KPI. Here, you can also see the title of the KPI. And below that, you can see the value, the original value of the KPI. In the circumference of the circle, you can see the normalized value. As we said, this can be anything from 0 to 4. In this case, for KPI 09, the normalized value is 2. And for KPI number 17, the normalized value is 3. If we click on the See Evolution button, we can see also the evolution of the values of this particular KPI in the different measurement periods. On the left, we can see the original value, and on the right, we can see the normalized value. And we can move, we can browse through these KPIs by using these arrows pointing to the right or to the left. And below this, we have a table with more information about the KPIs. So here we can find the KPI ID. We can see the name of the KPI. If we put the mouse here, we can see the detailed description of each of the KPIs. And then we can also see the original value, the normalized value, but also the default weight that has been foreseen in the methodology and is used for calculating the scores that we see here. If we go to the next sub-tab about the business dimension, you will see that the more or less, the same information is provided, but the business related KPIs are loaded here, and also the score for the business dimension is calculated. The same is the case in the contextual dimension. And this might be a good case to also showcase some qualitative KPIs. For example, KPI 04 is a qualitative one, and you will see that it can take the values worse, same, or better. And KPI 12 is also a qualitative one, and if we click here, you can see that it can take the values yes and no. Now, if we go to the user's view, this is basically another way of grouping the KPIs, but this time they are grouped per user cluster. So you will be able to select one of the 4 available user clusters here, and then you will be able to see the KPIs that belong to each of these clusters and also see the score that is calculated for these clusters. And finally, if we go to the statistics tab, we can see the various statistics metrics and their values for this platform. By default, also the latest measurement period of statistics is shown, but we can select another period if we wish. And we can also see the evolution of the statistics for this platform in a graph. And this is another example. Okay, so now I can click on this home icon on the top left of the tool, and we can click this and we go back to the home screen of the tool. And what I would like to do now is log in with a registered user account to show you some customization capabilities that we have in the platform monitoring functionality if the user is logged in. So I will log in the information hub. I will use my own account here. Okay, so the tool reloads now. Right, you can see on the top left now that we are a regular user of the tool. And if I enter again the platform monitoring tool and select the same platform as before, you will see that there is a difference now. In the table with the details of the KPIs, you can see that on the right side of the default weights column, a new column has been added, which is called user weight. So what we can do here is that we can choose our own weights for each one of the KPIs. So we can change the weights by using the plus and minus buttons. And you will see that after we change the weights and we save them in the tool, the score will be automatically recalculated based on the priorities that we have given, to each of the KPIs by selecting their weights. So this is something that we are going to do now. And what I'll do is I will select a lower weight for KPIs that have a better value and a higher weight for KPIs that have a worse value. And this way, we can expect that the score that will be recalculated will be lower than the anytime we can reset the weight to its original value. And now, when I click save, please notice the score for this dimension at the top of the screen. So I save the user set weights. They have been saved, and as you see, the score has been recalculated and as expected, it is a lower one. Another thing is that now that we have used this functionality for the first time, and that we have set some custom user set weights, the next time that we are going to load the same functionality of the tool as the same user of the tool, these user set weights are going to be loaded and used by default. Okay, I click the home button now to go back to the main page, to the home page. And now I will click the second card to show you the platform's comparison functionality. And basically what we can do here is we can view the various data of the platforms in a comparative manner, so we can more easily compare the performance of the platforms. So I click on this card. And you can see that the platform's comparison screen appears here. You can see all of the platforms that we have in the tool. They are automatically here arranged, ordered by their score. You will see that here we have 4 tabs. We have, as before, we have the dimensions view, we have the users view, we have the statistics, and additionally, we have another tab for the global score of the platforms. We can also select the measurement period here. So when we select the previous one, everything reloads. We select the current one, and we can group the platforms based on their global score. What we can also do is select only particular platforms from this list. For example, I can select these 3 platforms, and you see that in this case, their position is also updated, and only these 3 platforms are compared among each other. So in the global score column, we can see the score of the global score of each platform, and we can also see the trend of the platform here. So in the case of the first platform, as we said previously, this is a green arrow. The trend is better than before. In the case of a second platform, we have a blue equal sign, which means that the score is the same as for the previous period. And in the case of the last platform, we have a red arrow which is pointing downwards, and this means that the platform is performing worse than in the previous period. Now, if we select a dimensions view, we can see how these platforms are performing in the 3 different dimensions. So here in the technical dimension, we can see the score of the technical dimension of its platform, also the trend of the technical dimension score. And you will notice here that the platform number 1 and number 3 actually have the same score. So they both share the same first position. And we can also see how these platforms perform in the different KPIs of this dimension. And we can see the normalized value of the KPIs and also the original value. In the other tabs, we can see, as before, the same information for the other dimensions. In users view, we can see the KPIs information and the score of the platforms for the different user clusters. The concept here is the same as before. And finally, in the statistics tab, we can see the statistics metrics and compare the platforms, how they perform as far as these metrics are concerned. And we can also select another statistics period if we wish. Okay, now I will click the home button to go back to the home page of the tool, and I will log in now as a as a platform provider user, so I can show you also the rest of the functionalities. So I log out of the hub. And now I can log in again by using a different account. I will use this platform provider account. The tool reloads now. Right. So you can see that the platform provider, who is indicated on the top right part of the screen, also has access to the platform in-depth information and the platform data management functionalities. So I will click on the in-depth information card, and we are asked to select one of the available platforms. In this case, only the platforms that have been assigned to this particular provider will be displayed here. So the provider will be only able to select his own platforms. And in this case, this particular platform provider is assigned to 2 platforms, and we select the first one. Okay, so this is the main screen of platform in-depth information. You can see that there are 2 tabs. In the first tab, which is called Ratings and Comments, we are able to see a summary of the feedback that has been provided by technology developers who are using this platform. And this feedback has been provided by means of the second tool that I will show you next. So here we can see the title of each question that was addressed to the technology developers. For example, the first question was about the interoperability and integration easiness of the platform. And as you can see here, four individual developers have answered this question, and they have provided their ratings. So if we click on the See Details button, we can see more information about the provided answers. First of all, on the left here, you can see the mean rating of the platform. This can be any number from 1 to 5. So 2.5 is the mean, would be the mean rating, the mean value of this. In this case, it is 1.8. This is below average. So it's not very good for this platform, for this aspect of the platform. On the right side, we can see an analysis of the answers. So we can see that 2 of the developers have given the lowest rating. One has given 2, and one of them has given the rating 2. Since this question is of the type rating plus text, you can also see that the developers were able to provide the textual feedback regarding this aspect of the platform. And as you will notice, their answers, their feedback has been processed, and we use different colors to indicate, the positive or negative aspects of their feedback. So the negative aspects are highlighted with a red color, and the positive aspects are highlighted with a green color. So if we go to the second question, for example, and click See Details, you will see that the performance of the platform here is much better, and you will also see that there are also some positive answers that have been provided by the developers. Now I will choose the Feedback Details tab. In this tab, we can also see an analysis of the answers of the developers, but these answers concern the characteristics of the developers and the characteristics of the solutions that they are creating based on the open platforms. So you will be able to see a graph for each of these questions. For example, for the second question, in which the developers are asked to indicate the domains that their developed solution belong to. On the x-axis, you can see the available answers, the predefined answers for this question. And on the y-axis, you can see how many developers have chosen each of these answers. Okay, so now I will click on the Home button, go back to the home page, and show you the platform data management functionality. So I will click on the corresponding card, and the platform data management functionality for a platform provider is loaded. You will see that this is quite limited for the platform provider. So all that the providers can do here is they can see their own platforms, and they can choose to edit one of them. So if they click on the first platform on the edit button, they will be presented with a screen, and here they can see all of the details of the platform, including the name, the description, and the logo. but they are only able to provide the answers to the contextual questions, which, as we said, are used in order to, to identify the particular aspects of each of the platforms. So they can choose an answer here. They can change an existing answer, and they can save this so their platform can be updated. Now I will go back to the home page, and I will log out as a platform provider and log in to the tool as an administrator, so that I can also show you the rest of functionalities that are available for the system administrator. So I will choose an admin account and log in. The tool will reload. Right, so I click again on the platform data management card. So now you can see that we have a lot of other options here. The first, actually we have 5 tabs. The first tab is the same as before, but now you can see that the administrator can see all of the platforms that are available in the tool, and we can edit, as before, we can edit the details of a platform. We can specify the name of the platform. We can change the description. We can upload a logo file that we have in our computer, or we can completely move the logo. We can also change the contextual question answers if we wish, and then we can save the details of this platform. We can also introduce a new platform here, and this is actually the same screen, but all the fields are empty. So unless we provide at least the name of the platform, we cannot save the information, but now we can choose all the characteristics and all the details of the platform, and we can save it and introduce a new platform in the tool. Now I will go to the contextual questions tab, and here we can see a list of all the contextual questions that are available in the tool, along with their details. You can see that by using the mouse, we can pick up one of these questions. We can hold it, and we can change its position. So this is the position, the order. This indicates the order that the contextual questions are shown in all the functionalities of the tool. So if we change the order of the questions, then we can save it if we wish, or we can cancel the changes and revert to the original order here. You can see that we can also introduce a new contextual question by clicking on this button. In this case, we can write the title of the question. We can also write the alternative title, and we can specify the predefined answers that this question will have. So we can specify the answers. We can also introduce a new answer. You can see that we can also change the order of appearance of the answers. This indicates the order that these answers will be shown to the technology developers when they are called, to answer the question. And we can save the question if we wish. And of course, we can also edit an existing question. In this case, we can see the existing details, and we can change them if we wish. Another option that we have here is we can flag the question as deleted. In this case, the question will not be available in any of the functionalities of the tool anymore. However, all of the data will remain in the tool. So if sometime later we decide to re-enable the question, then the data will be there. Now I will click on the measurement period tab. Here we can edit the measurement periods. As I said before, we have different measurement periods for KPIs and for statistics. We can see the list of available periods in the tool, and we can introduce a new one. We can, first of all, define its type. We can give a title of the period. We can also specify the starting and the end date of the measurement period. And if we wish, we can save it. And of course, we can also edit one of the existing periods. In this case, this is the latest one. And you can also see that here we have a similar option as before that indicates if the period is ready to be used. So if this option is disabled, this means that we can still collect KPI measurements, KPI values for the platforms for this period, but unless we make the period ready to be used, this data will not be available in any of the functionalities of the tools, and they will also not be used in order to calculate the scores. Okay, I will now click on the KPIs tab. You can see that here we have two sub-tabs. The first one is about the definition of KPIs. So here you can first of all see a list of all of the KPIs that we have introduced in the tool according to the methodology that we are following. And what we can do here is that we can add a new KPI if we wish. We can specify the name of the KPI. We can give a description. We can give the units of measurement. We can also specify the default weight of the KPI, which is used for scores calculation. And then we can assign one of the 3 dimensions, one of the 4 clusters. And finally, we can assign one of the available categories to the KPI. So you will see that as I select one of the categories, more options become available. And as I select more options, then here we are also able to specify how exactly this KPI will be normalized. So as we said, there are 5 different normalization values, and for each of them, we can specify the original value ranges that will be normalized. So for example, in this case, that this is a percentage, I can say that I wish to have the ranges from 0 to 10%, from 10 to 30%, from 30 to 60%, and then from 60 to 90 and 90 and greater. So in this case, I can specify how this will be normalized. If it is the case that a lower value is is a better one, then I can choose here, and you can see that these ranges are put the opposite way around, and we can also specify the ranges here. In the case of a qualitative KPI, for example, this one, you will see that I can specify the value of the KPI, for example, yes and no, and I can say to which normalized value each one of them should be mapped. And if I wish, I can also add another value, for example, maybe, and say that it will be normalized to 3, for example. Okay, and of course, what we can also do is edit the existing KPIs. In this case, you will see that this information has already been filled in here. And an important aspect here is that if we change the normalization approach for this KPI and save it, then all of the KPI values that are already available in the tool for all of the platforms and all measurement periods will be automatically renormalized based on the new approach that we have chosen. Okay, now I will select the KPI values tab. And in this tab, we can see the values for all of the platforms for all of the KPIs. First of all, here we can select the measurement period. We select another period if we wish. We can see that there are no values stored for this one. But if we select this one, for example, there are some values existing. But by default, the latest period is selected. And what we can do here is we can introduce the values for the KPIs for each of the platforms, or we can change the existing ones. So we can click on the edit button, and then this pop-up appears where we can change the value. And if we save it, then this value is saved and also automatically normalized in the tool. And finally, there is the statistics tab. And here we also have two sub-tabs, one for the definition of statistics and one for the values of statistics. This is similar to the ones for the KPI. So we can give the title of the statistics, their characteristics, if they're percentage, if a higher value is better or not. And we can also introduce a new statistics metric. And in the values tab, as before, we can select a period for the measurement of statistics, and we can edit the values for the different platforms that we have in the tool. Okay, so now I will select the home button, and we can go back to the main page, the home screen. And this is the end of the demonstration of the first tool. Alexander, if you could kindly share the presentation.
Thank you very much, Tatis. So if you
can
move forward to the second tool.
Yes, of course. So the second tool is called the tool for technology developers. The next slide, please. Okay, so as the title also suggests here, this tool is mainly addressed to technology developers, and it enables them to evaluate and compare platforms. This comparison can be done. It can cover different aspects and dimensions of the platforms. The developers can also provide their feedback regarding their experience from using the platforms, and this can be done by answering questions about different aspects of the platforms. They can also compare their experience in each of these aspects with the experience of other developers. They can be further supported when they want to decide, which platform to use in order to develop their own solutions. So in this case, the tool can provide developers with a tailored recommendation of platforms based on their particular expectation and priorities. And by using the tool, the developers can further monitor their development of their own solutions. They can update their feedback and see how it changes over time. And by doing this, they can also self-assess their progress while developing these solutions. Next slide, please. Right. As I said, the main user of this tool is the technology developer, and also in this case, we also have an administrator user who can perform the maintenance operations of the tool and manage the underlying data. Okay, so now I will share my screen to give you an overview of the tool and a demo of the tool for technology developers. No worries, because this is going to be a lot shorter than the previous demo. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I will just reload the hub screen. Right. So we can select here the second tab, and I will log in. First, since this tool can only be used by logged in developers. Okay, so the page reloads, and I will click the Visit the Tool button so that the tool opens in a new page, in a new tab in the browser. Okay, the tool has loaded. As you can see, the layout is very similar to the first tool. This is the home page of the tool. On the right side here, you can see that we have the role of the technology developer. And on the top here, if you click the link to the tutorial, you can also find the tutorial of the tool for for technology developers. Let me see. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. Yeah. Okay, so let's start over because I had not chosen the right tab after I reloaded the page. Okay, so I can click the Visit Tool button, and the tool for technology developers will load. Okay, so as I said already, you will see that this is very similar to the first tool. This is the home page of the tool, and you can see that the role of the user currently using the tool is technology developer. On the top here, you can also find the link to the tutorial of this tool in case we want to see something regarding the users of the tool. So in this tool, we also have 4 main functionalities in 4 cards. I will click the first one. This is called Platforms Comparison. And you will notice that this is more or less the same functionality as we had in the first tool. There is only a difference here. You will see that the statistics tab is missing. And this is because the statistics information is of interest to the platform provider, but it is not of any interest to the technology developer. Otherwise, the functionality is the same as for the first tool. We can choose the global view, the dimensions view, or the users view, and we can see how the platforms perform in each of these views and in the KPIs of each of the clusters or each of the dimensions. I will click the home button to go back to the home screen of the tool. And now I will click the second card, which is the platform's recommendation functionality. So I click it, and the platform's recommendation loads. This functionality is performed in 3 steps. The first step is called expectations, the second one is called priorities, and the final one is called platforms. So in the first step, you will see that we are presented with a list of questions. And if you notice carefully, you will see that these questions are actually the contextual questions of the platforms that we saw in the first tool, but here they're formulated in a different way that makes sense for this functionality. And what we can do here is that we can select any number from of the available answers that we wish. For example, if we wish, for some reason, if we wish that the platform comes from a specific country, we can select here the countries that we wish the platform to come from. By using this checkbox, the all checkbox, we can select all of the countries if we wish, or we can also deselect all of the answers. You will see that there is an indication called indifferent right next to each question, and what this does basically, it indicates if this question is going to be taken for account for the filtering of the platforms in this functionality or not. And in order to explain this to you, you will see that if none of the available questions are selected, then indifferent is indicated here. And it is the same if all of the questions are selected, because in both of these cases, it is the same as if we do not select anything, because all of the platforms are going to be included in the filtering process, regardless of their answer in this question. But if we only select just a couple of answers, then we see that indifferent no longer appears, because only the platforms that correspond to these answers are going to be filtered. Okay, let's go here and let's select a couple of answers. For example, we would like the platform to be open source, so we select yes here. And we would also like the platform to be open standards based, so we can also select yes in this question. Just as a note, the more questions that we answer and the more answer that we select in each questions, the stricter the filtering of the platform becomes. So we will end up with a list of less platforms for our purposes. Okay, so I have selected these answers, and now I can click on Save Answers and go to Priorities. And we go to the second step, which is called Priorities. In this step, we can see a list of the KPIs of the technical dimension, because these are the KPIs that are of interest to a technology developer. We can see a detailed description of each of these KPIs, and next to them, we can see that we are able to choose the importance of each of these KPIs in the scale from 0 to 10. So I can give an importance for every KPI, and this actually indicates how the score of the platforms are going to be calculated in the next step. So once I'm ready with the importance, I can save the priorities, and I can view the platforms by clicking on this button. And we are navigated to the third step of tool, and here we can see the platforms that have been filtered based on our expectations and their score for the technical dimension that has been calculated based on the priorities that we set in the previous steps. So if we click on View Details for one of these platforms, we can see the actual KPI values, both the original and the normalized ones, and also the answers of the particular question of the particular platform to the contextual questions. So we can click back to recommendations, and we can come back to this step. And you will also notice that we can, at any time, we can move back and forward to the 3 steps of the platform's recommendation functionality. So we can change our answers here. We can change the priorities here, and we can view again the platforms that have been chosen for us. Okay, now I will click on the home button to go back to the home screen of the tool, and I will click the developer self-assessment card. We first have to select one of the available platforms. I select the demo platform 1, and the logo of the platform appears in the middle of the screen. And basically, this means that now we can provide feedback about this platform, and we can also see the analysis of the existing feedback from other developers also regarding the same platform. You will see that in the feedback provision tab, we can find a number of questions that are addressed to the technology developer. You will see that some of these, the answers of these to some of these questions have already been selected, and this is because this user, this technology developer, has previously used this functionality and has already provided some answers here. But the user is able to change any of the existing answers. They can also select new answers. You can see that some of the platforms of the questions, we can only select one of the available answers. For some of the other questions, we can select more answers. And we can also select another answer, which we can type here if we wish. And as we go further down to the list of the available questions, you can see that there are some questions where the developer can only provide a rating. So he can choose or she can choose the number of stars from 1 to 5 for this particular aspect. In some other cases, they can provide a rating, but also a textual comment. And finally, we can see that there are also questions where the developer can only provide textual feedback. So we can save the updated answers, or we can click cancel. If we click cancel, you will see that the previous answers are reloaded here. And for each of these questions, we can click on the See History button. And we can see the previous answers that we have provided as developer for each of these questions. And in the case of, for example, a rating question, we can see the ratings that we have provided previously and also the textual feedback that we provided. So all of this data are stored and kept in the tool, but it is important to mention that when we see the summary of the questions, only the latest answer from each developer is taken into account for, for calculating the ratings or for showing the feedback to the developer or to the platform providers via the first tool. So only the latest answers by each developer is taken into account in this case. So in the next 3 tabs, which are called Developer Characteristics, Solution Characteristics, and Platform Assessment, we can do exactly this. So we can see the summary of the answers provided by all of the developers for this particular platform. So in Developer Characteristics, we can see an analysis of the questions that have to do with the developer. In these graphs on the x-axis, we can see the answers, and in the y-axis, we can see how many developers have chosen these answers. In Solution Characteristics, we can see the same thing, but only for questions that have to do that are about the developed solutions. And finally, in Platform Assessment, we can see the ratings and the comments that have been provided by developers for the particular platform. And if we click on See Answers, we can see also the textual feedback provided by the developers in each of these questions. Of course, only if the question also allows for textual feedback to be provided. Okay, and now I will click on the home icon to go back to the home page, and I will log in as an administrator to show you also the administrative functionality. So I log out from the hub and I log in again by using the administrator account. And I click here to open the tool as an administrator. Now the tool reloads, and you can see here that we are an administrator of the tool, and also now the developer data management functionality has been enabled. So I click on this card, and you can see that here we have two tabs. In the first tab, which is called questionnaire, we can see all of the questions that are addressed to the technology developers. We can change their order of appearance, and we can save the order if we wish, or we can click cancel to go back to the previous order. We can also edit each one of the questions by clicking on the edit button. As you can see, we can edit the question title. We can edit the question category, and we can also edit the question type. As you will see, and this is why this happened when I click a different category. Different question types are supported for different question categories. So if we choose platform assessment, then we can only have one of these three categories. If we choose developer characteristics or solution characteristics, we can only have a structured answer. There is also the option here to flag the question as deleted. So in this case, it will not be shown anymore in any of the functionalities of the tools, but all of the details of the questions and the answers, and also all of the feedback that has been provided so far by the different technology developers, it will be still kept in the tool. It will be not removed. So if we at some point we consider to unflag the question, it will become available again. Here you can see that we can, in the case of structured questions, we can also add another answer if we wish, and we can also enable the option of having, an answer that will be provided by the developer, and we can also specify the maximum amount of answers that the developer can choose. In this case, we have 6 answers plus 1 here, so 7 is the maximum amount that we can specify. If we remove the plus 1, you can see that this is no longer acceptable, so we can now specify up to 6. So we can save or cancel here. Of course, we can also introduce a new question if we want here by specifying all of these aspects. We can introduce the answers here and so on. And in the recommendation questions tab, we can see here the list of questions that are displayed in the platform's recommendation functionality. And as I said before, these are the same as the contextual questions that we saw in the first tool. So the only thing that we can do here is we can choose one of these, and by clicking the edit button, we can only change the alternative title. And basically, the alternative title is the title that will be used in order to formulate this contextual question when it is being presented in the platform's recommendation functionality. Okay, so now I can click on the home button to go to the main screen of the tool, and basically this is it. The demonstration of the second tool is finished. So if you could kindly share the presentation again, Alexander.
I would like to use the opportunity and invite the audience to our next virtual matchmaking event on the 29th of April. The event is organized jointly by Ambient Assistant Living Austria and PlatformUptake.eu project, and provides opportunity to players in the field from Austria, but also from across Europe and beyond, to exploit potential for future collaboration with their counterparts and benefit from the knowledge exchange. Registration can be done on our Open Information Hub by going to this address or scanning the QR code. Once again, on behalf of our co-host Tatis and the PlatformUptake.eu consortium as a whole, I would like to thank you for your participation in today's webinar. Don't forget to register for our next matchmaking event. In case you have questions, don't hesitate to contact us anytime via one of the channels presented on this slide. Thank you very much and have a nice rest of the day.